Being a dad is hard. It's high stakes. It takes a toll on our self-worth, mental health, and can be lonely. But why would we ever want to do something so important in isolation? Legacy Makers, a conversation for dads, is quite simply two normal dads having conversations about, you guessed it, being a dad. The highs, the lows, and the learnings along the way. We are four dads. We want to remedy the deficiency we see in community for dads, and we want to ruthlessly encourage dads on their journey to build lasting legacy for the faces they love the most.
Okay, Eric, we were just talking about our Instagram algorithm. So I actually learned this.
Which, by the way, is very important.
It's very important as it is. So if I went to your, what do they call the page? Like your Discover page or something? Do you know what I'm talking about? So here's mine.
Let me see yours.
I've got, let's see what this is. I'm glad it's not anything.
I was about to say, like, this is risky here.
Success leaves clues. I got a lot of baseball stuff right now, mainly about how terrible the Braves are.
Yeah.
A little bit of fake stuff. What do you got here? Didn't you say you have a lot of pandas in your feed?
All right, so here's what I got. I got a bunch of Georgia football stuff, some WWE wrestling stuff. There's a lot of that in the house, Boonville house, as you know. I got some pandas, some cute animal videos, because we like to show the kids that, and we laugh. Some longevity stuff, like how to live to 150, it looks like.
I'm getting some like hair transplants.
Yeah.
You know, they say that I think advertisers, based on your buying habits, like they can like target women who end up being pregnant before they're pregnant because they like learn certain things that they're doing. I think they know something I don't know about my hair loss that's coming. So they're in advance. Okay. One thing, if you follow the influencers about like killing it at life, one thing my feed is full of are two completely opposing thoughts, both of whom are very strong, very compelling at what they articulate. Okay. Let me paint the picture for you. One end, Alex Hormozy, you know this guy?
Yeah, for sure.
Gary Vee, is he still around or is he fading a little
No,
bit?
He's in, man. He's in.
Who
I'm sure he watches the podcast.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Joe Rogan, we should be on his podcast, maybe.
Yeah, I think we'll be on that.
That invitation has gotten lost. But that grew, which I'm going to call the hustle culture crowd.
Yeah.
Like, and not in a bad way, but they're telling us like, man, the reason you're not succeeding is because you need to work harder. You need to be more committed. You need to, and I think like both of us would probably love to have people on our teams that like, they want to crush it at life.
Yeah, urgency, right? Like
yes,
this is
urgency.
Yeah, yep.
Hey, so that's one end. It's a loud voice. It's a compelling voice, and their argument I think is correct in a lot of ways. Like, if you don't care enough, you're probably not going to be that successful. One life,
yeah. Mm-hmm. So go for it.
The other end, which also would say the one life movement, but they're the crowd that is calling us, encouraging us to live in the moment.
Mm-hmm.
Like if you're always future oriented, if you're always about your goals, like you're going to look up and you're going to have missed this life. You're going to like stop, take time, smell the roses, take the trip. That crowd that's telling us like, hey, life's too short.
Yeah.
Life's too short to work too hard.
Yeah, no, and that's also kind of in that is the sappy, you have this many more summers with your kids or life will never, so, and it's interesting, they're both crowds are playing to an emotion, which can be kind of a guilt piece because they're both saying to you, you're not doing what you should be doing and have urgency one way or the other. And now that's not, maybe not what they're doing, but that can be a very guilt ridden message because you're like, oh my gosh, I'm not doing these things. I'm not doing enough.
But then if you're caught between the two, you're like, if I'm not doing enough over here and I move to one end and then I'm not doing enough on the other side, that doesn't work. There's an E.B. White quote, E.B. White, the guy that wrote Charlotte's Web and a bunch of other books, said, I arise in the morning torn between, and I may butcher this quote, but it's something like this. I arise in the morning torn between a desire to improve the world and a desire to enjoy the world. And that makes it really hard to plan my day. And I find myself caught in this tension a lot of where I creep to one side or creep to the other.
It's so hard to, I mean, it's a different take, but a similar thought. I heard Nick Saban speak, and he's got this whole thing, like you'll either suffer the pain of discipline or the pain of disappointment.
Yep.
So it's this, but in Nick's case, it's like, you got to put in the work. It's not going to be fun. It's going to be painful. But the alternative, if you don't do these things, is you're going to have a bad situation or a bad life or bad whatever. And it's really a challenging, kind of inflection to figure it out.
It is.
And I think back to like that whole, we don't hear as much anymore, but it's still out there, this like work-life balance thing. And to me, that never made sense, because I always felt like when I visualized that, I visualized a teeter-totter. And what always happens on a teeter-totter, it's never really in balance unless nobody's on it, and then it sit. But the second two things are on opposite sides, the thing that is heaviest wins. Like, that's the thing. So there's never a work-life balance in my mind, because, okay, for me, my situation, like, I am the provider for my family and I go work. Therefore, that's the heaviest thing. And my life will never be in balance if I subscribe to that, right? It's tension.
So what you're just saying, I think, is a key point. If you go to either extreme and you live on that teeter-totter and it stays one way the entire time, either extreme doesn't work. Mm-hmm. So like if you're 100% hustle, that's what matters most, all about the grind, like, I think you'll wake up empty and unfulfilled. But the other end is also true. If you just decide, like, I'm gonna enjoy life, I'm not really gonna care about all these things, like we've talked about, it's not a great example for our kids, and I do not believe that's ultimately fulfilling either.
Totally.
So we've kind of talked about, it's not a problem to solve, it's a tension to manage for a lot of things. I like this. Tension isn't the problem, it's the point. Mm-hmm. And so we've got to feel that teeter-totter only works if there is occasionally some balance there.
Yeah, and I think the tension piece...
Not work-life balance, but like weighing back the other way.
Right. Well, it's just, think about, like, as you work out and you're trying to grow your muscles, like, they don't grow without tension. So I think it's really important to acknowledge the tension is actually a good thing. Mm-hmm. It's a good thing if it's approached the right way, and it is able to help us think about both these things and have urgency about, like, both sides of that equation. But we have to be very careful to not think of it as a choice one way or the other. But the word that continues to come to my mind as I think about this is, how do you make this more harmonious? Like, how is it more in harmony, like both the things in harmony with themselves, versus it being, hey, I either got to be this or either got to be that.
Let me give you this framework for us to maybe unpack. Let's talk about seasons of hustle versus rhythms of rest.
Okay.
So seasons of hustle, there are times it's a big project, it's a key part in your business. Like, there are times I think we need to index towards the thing that we're chasing. And I'm going to say vocationally, like in our work. I know we're not going to get too specific in work things, but I know there's been times where you've had a huge deal or something that's really important that has probably consumed a lot more time than other.
Yeah, there's two things I think, as I would encourage us as dads to think about, that are really important. And they're two words. It's agility and it's duality.
Okay.
So we have to be able to be agile in where we focus our time and when we do these sprints, or where we have to lean in further. And that can be challenging when you're like dad mode versus like locked in work thing, or maybe you're going after some big physical goal of running a marathon, whatever it is. You have to be agile. We have to be agile, because you can't just be, okay, in this season of my life, I am locked in, only this. Like, you got to be able to go from one to the other. And that's just in life with how fast and change that's occurring right now. Duality is this ability to say, I am going to really, really do a great job on this day, while also having a vision for what 3 months from now or that next season is, or I might be coming into a really busy season at work. I'm preparing for this big thing, or there's this board meeting, whatever it might be. But the tension is like, how do I have the like ability and the duality to do both really well, even though one is right in front of us and one is further away, because that'll help you prepare for how you ebb and flow between each.
Yeah. I think the duality piece is key. I struggle with that sometimes.
Yeah.
Because just the tension of
well, here's like a real life. Here's a real life how that would work out. So earlier this year, I knew I had like, man, it was 2.5 months of intense travel. Like every single week, multiple days a week, some international trips. They didn't just spring on me. I knew for a fact they were coming, and I knew like going into the holidays. So me having the ability to see out and understand this is a really important stretch in work. It's coming probably in the next couple months. It allowed me to do things differently over the holidays and to lean in differently and over rotate and make investments in certain things that if I had not been thoughtful and didn't have the approach, this duality approach of like knowing what's coming, but also being super locked in now, that 2.5 month stretch would have killed me because I missed so much. I was gone a ton, but it was a moment I was prepared for because I had put in the work at home to make sure that I was in a good spot, and I had made those deposits in that kind of emotional piggy bank with the kids and spending time. It was hard for 2.5 months, but had I not done the work ahead of time and had the vision to do that, man, it would have been much harder just to roll right into that.
Yeah, in another episode, you talked about, I use this term rhythms of rest. Mm-hmm. You talked about calendaring certain things in your family. So it seems like Laura's going to listen to this episode, and I'm going to get in trouble on this. So I'm going to go ahead and acknowledge this. I am bad at this sometimes because sometimes I am much more intentional of calendaring the work things than I am the family things.
Yeah.
And if I don't look out and foresee it, and by the way, Laura is much more perceptive at this than I am. She knows there are certain seasons every year. There are certain months. She's like, this month is going to be crazy. And oh no, not this year. It's not going to. And then it's coming up. It's going to be October this year. And that, if we don't schedule and have a cadence or a rhythm for us to be intentional in our family time and to have the rest, I think it'll sneak up and it won't happen.
Yeah. I mean, we just have to be aware of these times when it's going to be hard, and aware when like I got to get an A+ at work, or I got to get an A+ in this community thing. Like it's non-negotiable. That doesn't mean you're cheating on your family or you get an F, but there's going to be some times that we have to be okay with, look, I probably am only going to be a B or a B- dad right now for this season because of X or Y. And you have to have that visibility. I've had the benefit the last couple of weeks of not traveling. I would have loved to go early to the office and miss traffic and get some extra work done in the morning to get a jump start of the crazy days. I've gotten the kids up and I've gotten the girls ready. I've even done their hair and like let Brittany have a moment to breathe. Like, do I need a pat on the back or like, oh, great job, Dad, you get a trophy for getting no, but that's not what I'm saying. But Brittany would have been completely fine if I had gone into work early, as I typically did. But I've known that, look, for this stretch, I'm not traveling. I need to maximize that time with them. So but it's the awareness of that. So you can be agile and do what you need to deliver what you need to do. But I think the tension lies in, okay, people are almost being forced to say, do I just crush it and make sure that I'm doing what Gary Vee says on the work front?
Yeah. Is Gary Vee a dad? Do we know?
I don't know. I think he just got married. We'll have to ask him when we get him on.
Yeah. We'll on the show. Yeah.
But I do think maybe part of the issue is like, perhaps we are taking the message wrong though. The message of like put in 18, well, maybe that's just how you should be, in their mind, approaching all the important things in your life versus only a financial thing.
That's a good point. That's how you should approach everything, not just this one thing
facet of your life that you compartmentalize.
Yeah. I like this quote that we need to build something that matters while not missing the people that matter most. like either one of those on its own will end up with a lot of regret long term.
Yeah, we talked about, I think earlier, I've had the fortune to go to a whole bunch of people's retirement things at work throughout the years, and it's always a really special moment. And oftentimes the person that's retiring will bring their wife and perhaps their kids, and the normal, say some words about Johnny who's retiring after 30 years or whatever. And man, what a disconnect that could be if you've got your kids at that thing and you had all these people at work talking about, man, Kevin was always there and did all these things. And the kids are like sitting there thinking, that's not the guy I knew. Would have been nice if dad showed up that way. Right. Yeah. So, I don't know. That's a convicting thought.
Yeah.
That's a very convicting thought.
So balancing the tension between hustle and home. The Teeter-Totter is a great example. Remember, Andy Stanley called it choosing to cheat.
Mm-hmm.
He'd say you will never, choosing to cheat. I don't even like the name of that book, actually. If he listens to this, he can get frustrated with me because it feels like you're like, cheating is bad, but he says you'll always cheat one or the other. You've got to choose which one you're going to cheat and which season.
Yeah. And perhaps here's the other thought I have on this. So the tension we're talking about is like hustle. What do you say? Hustle versus
home. Hustle versus home right now.
So we're almost locking into the fact, though, like when your kids are young, that's how it's always going to be. There's no reason you can't hustle in a different way when your kids are at certain seasons of their life that they may need a little bit more, that you might have to throttle some things down a little bit, or, as I said, be more agile in your hustle. And then as they get to a different season where they maybe need you a little bit less, like you can ramp that back up. I think sometimes we think that like it's one or the other, and that's the decision I'm going to make, and I'm locked into this decision forever.
Yeah, it's probably because this longevity stuff that you're getting.
I know.
Or this hair stuff. I think sometimes we have sometimes we don't realize how short life is, but the other times we think of it in our career in this little thing, like I've got to do it now.
Yeah.
And if I don't make this now, it's not going to work. But I think knowing in this season, hey, I have to pull back a little bit so that I can.
Yeah. Yeah. I think that's the, but again, it's going to look different for everybody depending on what you do. But I think there's a way to have both. I believe that fully. I really do. And part of it, I can say that confidently just because of where I sit right now. And a big part of that is having a support system in your spouse. If you don't have a spouse, it could be friends or your family or whatever. But, I'll give you an example. About a decade ago, no, maybe a little less, doesn't matter, 7-8 years ago, I was being considered for a substantial promotion in terms of just like scale of the work and the team and the, what I was responsible for. And it was really the turning point for my whole career. And it was a couple month process, and it was exhausting and it was stressful. And I was like, man, and candidly, I'd seen a lot of people at that level over the years that I was trying to get to that badge of honor was work. And that coupled with the tension of stress of going through the situation, I was like, I'm done. I'm going to pull myself out of this process. And I called my boss at the time and said, hey, I'm out. Like, this was one evening. And she's like, okay, well, tell me more about that. And I kind of had this whole reason, and I didn't talk about I was scared, but it was more like, hey, I like what I'm doing now and I can do it more, and maybe I'll grow more, and maybe this is not the right time. And she's like, have you talked to Brittany? And I was like, no, I have not. She's like, well, talk to Brittany, sleep on it, call me tomorrow, and we'll figure it out. So I spoke to Britt, and she was like, I started to lay this whole thing out to her, and she's like, just stop. Like, we're fine. You're going to be fine. The kids will be fine. Like, you can do this. I believe in you, and we can make it both. And if for some reason it doesn't, we'll figure it out. But like, you're not pulling yourself out of this. So
wow.
Tail between my legs, called my boss the next morning. Hey, never mind. Let's forget the conversation happened. went through it, ended up getting the job, thankfully, and it's been great. And because of her support then in that moment, but then also throughout these last 5 or 6 years as I've been in these roles, she's like, we're locked in, and I have that support system. So I share that because I think you can do both, but it's not on you to be able to do it. Like, you need the support from some sort of outside, but again, whether it's your spouse or your family. And then you also need to bring your kids along with it. Like, they need to know what you're doing, and that helps too.
Yeah, it reminds them of the why when you're doing it. That is not an unintentional thing, but it is an intentional decision for this season.
Yes.
So articulating is important. Yeah, for me, the takeaway is if you are living fully in the hustle culture, or at the other end, you're like, none of this matters, I've got to be so present in the moment. If you fall into the trap of either one of those completely, that's not going to work long term. If you're feeling the tension, it means you're in the right spot. Like if you feel like you haven't got it figured out, my guess is you're probably doing a lot of the right things because you've got that tug in each area. And
yep, I think if you feel convicted by both messages, you should feel great.
100%.
Because you are supposed to live in both of those worlds without guilt. That's the key. Without guilt. Ebb and flow, go back and forth with agility. But if you're only convicted by one of those messages, I'm telling you, my perspective is and it's not right. You should be convicted by both.
I love it. I think it's spot on. Well, it's a challenge to me, and I think to everybody to make sure we're living in that tension without guilt.
Yes.
All right. Thanks, man.
Thanks for listening to Legacy Makers with Kevin Scott and Eric Blumenthal. Make sure you download and subscribe wherever you get your podcasts.
This podcast is a production of BG Ad Group. All rights reserved.